Hello everyone, my name is Shubhashish and we are restarting our daily news analysis. Now there are a couple of things I am going to change, at least with the mains 2022 in mind over here. So first thing is that I am going to discuss the topics with the thing, how it is important for the mains examination, like previous year how it was asked and how additionally more permutation combinations are there for UPSC to ask a question. So that is one thing. Second thing is I want to be more exam centric. I don't want to elaborate each and everything because that will become very lengthy. So I want to curtail this to 30 minutes. I know that exam priorities are there. So I want to keep that at 30 minutes right now and just discuss those key ideas over here. So for example, defection. So we can have a separate video on that, right? So that way we can go from now on. I want to try this out. Another thing is, apart from the DNA, I am starting a new initiative where I am sharing the most important questions GS wise. So that I'll be posting about 5-6 questions a day. Okay, so first is with reference to the defection thing. So BJP 6 floor test in house, CM makes fresh plea to rebels. So briefly, this is about defection. So there are certain MLAs who have defected, who are presumed to have defected from the Shiv Sena camp. Now Shiv Sena was in is in power in Maharashtra, and naturally if 50 odd MLAs are out, they say that we are not going to support your political party, even though they are in Shiv Sena, but they say we are not going to vote. So naturally, it is quite likely that this coalition government of Shiv Sena, NCP and the Indian National Congress would collapse. So that is why the BJP wants the floor test. No confidence motion. So that is important for your prelims. Right, so this is there. Now to check this practice of defection. Defection means the MLAs, elected MLAs or MPs defecting or moving away from your political camp, that is defection. So if that happens, when that happens, naturally the governments will not be very stable. It is quite likely that, and it used to happen in the 80s and the 90s where the MPs and MLAs would move from one camp to another political camp and then again re-support the original political camp, and therefore the phrase came in Aya Ram Gaya Ram. So to check this practice and check this practice of bribing of the MPs and MLAs to move from one political camp to the other, the constitution, an amendment was made to the constitution known as the 10th schedule. A new schedule was added and this provided the provisions of the anti-defection law. So anti-defection law basically says that those MPs or MLAs who are guilty of defection, and who decides who is guilty? The speaker. So the speaker decides. So if an MP or MLA is guilty of defection, then in that case, those people will lose their membership. They will have to get re-elected to the house. Okay, so that is there. Now this brings to light certain issues. One issue that was already asked in the mains examination, and it has been about 10 odd years, 2013 last time a question was asked on defection. So one issue that I'm going to share directly with the help of this exam is, one thing is that it curtails, yes, anti-defection law is good, but it curtails the independence of the individual MPs or MLAs. To have healthy constructive debates, sometimes the MPs and MLAs would have a point of view that is different from their political parties. Could be, and it happened actually, BJP MPs had a difference of opinion with reference to the GST issue. Some MPs don't like GST, they had an issue, they wanted reforms over here, but the BJP party said, they issued a whip, they issued a directive that you have to support the GST. So the independence of the MPs or MLAs to be critical of their own government, or whichever political party is in government or whichever political party is in opposition, to criticize their own party or their viewpoint is heavily restricted. It is deemed as defection. It can be deemed as defection. So that is a issue over here. We must not forget that the MPs and MLAs, yes, they have been elected on the ticket of a particular political party, be it BJP, Shiv Sena, Congress, whichever party, but they are also the representatives of the people. They are representing a constituency, and therefore they should have that much of liberty to express their own views over here. Right, so that is a very, very important aspect. So this is one theme, that anti-defection law is curtailing the freedom of the defection, the MPs and the MLAs. So how far can this be attributed to the anti-defection law, which was legislated but with a different intention? What intention? Intention to stop this practice of Aya Ram, Gaya Rao, the corruption that is taking place. But it is curtailing the possibilities of healthy, constructive debates. So such an answer you would need, naturally you would need a definition of defection, you would need contemporary examples, and by contemporary I mean not just this, but we have every year we have such issues that take place. So this is not really a current issue, actually it's more of a static. Okay, so defection, you need examples over here, plus anti-defection law, of course you need anti-defection law, so that is there. And I think one more thing that should be added to this, one more possibility of UPSC asking us a question is the role of speaker with reference to defection. The speaker's role is very, very controversial. For example, this coalition that is there, now naturally when the elections to the office of speaker would take place, since they have the majority over here, they will have the speaker of their choice. And the speaker would do as these parties would instruct them to do. So that is how it works. So role of speaker is pretty controversial over here. So on the lines of speaker. And other thing is that it could also be like, what do you understand by the expression defection law? Do you think that it curtails the role of individual MPs? So that is also there. Plus, it can also ask you about what are the judicial precedents that have been established over the course of years, or landmark judgments associated with defection. Direct question can also be asked, as it was asked with reference to environment. So such questions can be asked. So you should have a note of Supreme Court judgments specifically prepared for defection, plus it is there in use between the window of your prelims to mains. G7 to cap Russia's income from oil sales. Okay, I think this is very clear. G7 is the most world's wealthiest democracies, primarily led by the USA, and these are the countries which are part of the G7 grouping. Now naturally they have politically aligned together over here, and earlier it used to be G8 and Russia was part of it. So 2014, when that Ukraine first war had taken place, this thing at G8 became G7. Okay, so G7 to cap Russia's income. So now the war is taking place. So war is taking place and sanctions have been imposed on Russia. So to stop, but what is being seen is that Russia's oil exports and Russia's overall exports of grains, gold, etc. has actually increased, as in the case of India as well. So from 2%, we were importing about 2% of energy from Russia, and now it has increased to 7.5% over here. So our imports have actually increased specifically after the war. So to curtail that issue, to curtail the incomes of Russia and put more pressure on Russia to stop the war, this has been initiated over here. Plus they are looking at also the issue of the gold imports, gold exports from Russia, plus the issue of food security because of the blockade on Ukraine grain shipments. Fine. I think let's close that here. The very direct, I don't think directly a thing could be asked. But yes, one more thing was that in G7, India was also invited. And this is a probable theme for the upcoming, mains examination. G7 and India, world's wealthiest democracies and India. What is the correlation over here? So I'm giving you a question for your practice. Critically examine the aims and objectives of G7. What importance does it hold for India? So one thing I think you can see that developed countries and India, so developed bloc and developing bloc, India leading that, so they are at conflict. So one is like the WTO meetings and the climate change talks, so that is there. Then all these countries like USA, Germany, France, they want to export to India their defense equipments and all those things. So that is also there. Plus the minimum taxation system, global minimum tax, that proposal also, that again needs India support. So India being the one of the largest democracies. So these points can also be added in your answer. Zubairs police custody extended by 4 days. Okay, so this person is the head of the alt news. I think you would be aware of this thing. So they have a lot of this fact check initiatives, and apparently he's critical of the PM Modi, the Modi government over here. So this is a big political row over here. So arrested fact checker, Zubairs post highly provocative. Now this post was made in 2018, but only now the police has come to, if it is so provocative, why didn't they take action back then? Okay, so there is a concern that this is political motivated. I don't know what tweet was made actually. Then it has drawn the attention of the UN as well. So scribes should not be jailed for what they write, tweet, etc. So 1 hour ago, it means about 2-3 hours ago, this thing came in the news. Now, I'm not really interested over here, but basic thing is that one, India has been ranking very poorly in the index of freedom of press index. So freedom of press and Article 19. So already questions have been asked with reference to one direct question with reference to free, what do you understand by freedom of speech and expression, and then it asked about correlation between free speech and hate speech. Is hate speech part of free speech? So one question on these lines have already been asked. Then Article 19 and then Article 19 freedom of speech and movies at a higher pedestal. So that was again censor board controversy, Udta Punjab movie 2016. So same thing was asked. Now freedom of press and Article 19 is an emerging theme, particularly with this topic gaining more attention, and obviously UPSC papers are being expected to be prepared at this point of time. So this would be in the mindset of the people who are making the exam right now. So one is this Article 19 and free press, freedom of press index, those correlation over here, plus the issue of slap litigation. Slap litigation means strategic litigation against public participation. So this person may be speaking something against the government, so just slap him with what? Strong laws, arrest him, take action against him. So this will set an example for the others, right? So slap litigation, something on these lines should be prepared. Then what are the recommendations of the Justice Shah committee, AP Shah committee? So that can be added, that you have to study. Religious leaders ask locals to welcome Amarnath Yatris. Okay, so Amarnath Yatra takes place in Kashmir. It's in Kashmir, and this Yatra takes place. Now, what you should be knowing is that one is Amarnath, of course, from art and culture point of view. So that you should know. And when these, so that is basically pre actually. From mains point of view, I feel that people coming, then terrorist attack took place in 2017, so all those things. This reflects, if you look at this closely, religious leaders ask locals to welcome. So this is about communal harmony. This could be a case study thing also. A yatra is going to take place in your district. What arrangements would you make? Something on these lines has already been asked also. So that is there. Plus imminent risk of communal tensions. So what measures should be taken? So I had shared this previously also. So these are the communal harmony guidelines. I'll post it on the comment section. So please read the basic index, and it tells us about the administrative steps. I think if I have, let me show you. I can't find it right now. Okay, I'll post it on the comment section. And this we have already discussed. Now this is very important. I'll frame a question later. So is Beijing moving away from its policy of non-intervention in China? So this is China's policy with reference to East Africa. So this is the East Africa region. Now from your pre-examination, you should know about this region, the arrangement of these countries like it was asked in Afghanistan. So that kind of preparation you'll have to do, the nearby regions, islands, the seas over here, all those things. Okay. Yeah. So what is happening is that China is being more and more assertive in the African region which has great supplies of natural resources. So China wants to have a good hold over these natural resources. That is one area. And furthermore, geopolitically speaking, they want more of their military presence. Like one they have in the Djibouti region, only one naval base. Now they want to have it in Somalia also, plus in Kenya. So USA believes that they want it here also. I think it's mentioned over here. So they have actually remarked recently that they want to play a role in the area of securities. They want to have more troops in this region over here. Plus they want to have their naval presence. This could be because the oil that is coming. So oil is predominantly being exported from this region, Saudi, Dubai, this region over here. So if they have more of the navy over here, their trade that is taking place, oil trade that is taking place, merchandise trade that is taking place, that could be secured easily. Plus this area is prone to piracy. So that can also be handled. Plus China has surplus capital. China has surplus capital over here. These countries are having infrastructure deficit. So China is saying that we will fund infrastructure projects in this region, right? So in overall regions we will do it. Plus they want to export the natural gas, like I think the British colonial Raj also, they made all those infrastructure, rail infrastructure, postal, telegraph, whatever they did. So likewise China also, presumably. So connectivity, infrastructure, development of ports, so that they want to do. One thing would be it would facilitate trade. So thereby, this article over here, Africa's regional exports show ongoing colonial legacy. So same thing is going on, export of raw materials, import of manufactured goods. Okay, so that is there. So the surplus capital would go over here. Plus what we'll see is that these contracts for making these railway lines or making of these ports or making of this coal-based power plants, all of them will actually come from Chinese companies only. So China is spending, and that money is actually providing employment and resources for the Chinese companies only. It was not actually enhancing the capacity of these regions. But these are being funded by these countries. So there is a concern that these countries would fall into the debt trap. So normally China, when they initiate a project, they give out loans. So we are granting you, let's say, $1 billion. So this has to be returned to us with interest from, obviously, from the money that is being generated from the project. If it is income, then also you have to return. And it is known that they will not be able to raise that sort of money. So this is known as debt trap. So more into debt trap, more concessions these countries would make to China over here. So that is the idea. This we have seen in Sri Lanka, this we have seen in Pakistan. We are going to see it in Myanmar and something. So this is known as China's debt trap policy, which all these countries are concerned. So with the debt trap, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, fine, we don't want India over here. Please tell them to leave. They'll say, okay, fine, we don't like India. We don't like USA. So that is how they will have more and more of their hold over here. Okay, so these are the basic things that they say that that is of interest to them. So same thing, infrastructure and all those things. Okay. I think you can read more on this. So we have this region of the Horn participated and 4 resolutions were adopted. So what is the Dakar action plan? This is important for your pre. So Dakar, DAKAR, Dakar action plan. China-Africa Cooperation Vision 2030, long-term vision of what all things India and Africa and China can work together. Sino-African Declaration on Climate Change, so both working together on this. So that also means they will have more global support on other initiatives as well. And China has also been working on the vaccine diplomacy. So they have been more receptive of the Chinese overall because of the long-term goodwill. Okay, I think moving on to the next over here. One more thing actually. This region was there in the news, Addis Ababa. So this is the capital of Ethiopia. So I was reading more about this. So I came across the Great Rift. So I've shared on my Telegram channel also, IASPrimers, as well as the CSE coach. Right, so there you can find it. Okay, now another explainer section. So this is with reference to the G7, what measures the G7 is taking to curtail China's Belt and Road Initiative. In fact, this that you see, all those initiatives, that is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. So what is this Belt and Road Initiative? That is connectivity projects from China to Europe, funded by China, led by China over here. And one of the concerns over here is that all these things would eventually lead to the debt trap. And all these countries that are there, like Central Asia, Central Asian countries, African countries, they don't have adequate money, they don't have adequate resources. So when China says that we will fund all these projects, they gleefully come to and accept China. So this is a cause of concern for, obviously this is a cause of concern for India. India has not been receptive of the G7, of the Belt and Road Initiative. In fact, this was asked in the GS2 paper of the means. What concerns does India has with reference to the Belt and Road Initiative? So that was asked, I think it was asked in 2018. I'll share it later, or I'll share it as part of our, this thing. Okay. So we have this here. So G7, what they are doing is citing the concerns over the Belt and Road Initiative and the growing hegemony of China in the region, across the world, across the region from China to Central Asia and West Asia and then Europe and African countries. So what the G7 is doing is they see themselves as a counter to China, and they say that we are creating an all new facility. This is known as the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. So this is known as PGII, Partnership for Global Infrastructure Investment. Now this is important for your prelims also. Okay. Prior to this, they had introduced the Blue Dot Network, which was certification of various infrastructure projects, but no funding was provided. Then there was another initiative known as the IIPEF. Forgetting that entire thing actually, one second. Pacific Economic Framework. Indo-Pacific, something to do with Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Okay. So that was there, but that again wasn't about funding and all those things, but it was about US-led initiative where they wanted these countries of Southeast Asia to work together. Again, an anti-China camp. Okay. So nothing to that effect to fund the infrastructure projects, the infrastructure gap that is there to fill in the void which the China was filling. So now they have come up with this initiative known as the PGII. What does it say? It says that we are going to provide this funding about $600 billion by 2027. So we'll provide $600 billion. And what will this be used for? Infrastructure related projects, whatever, railway lines, ports, power projects, whatever, for that projects. And beyond this, it will also strengthen the global supply chains, which is being dominated by China at this moment. So that is again a cause of concern. If China is controlling the global supply chains, let's say any country has a conflict with China, China will say that we will not supply you. In fact, India is also concerned because of this, because of the strategic metals that are there, or the rare earths, or be it the pharmaceuticals. And the powdery thing from which the medicines are made, 80% is coming from China. What if there is a conflict with China? China says that we will not provide you the APIs. Right, so that is a cause of concern. Okay, so this will help provide the funding for that. And other thing that they say is that all of this that will be there, this will be in a transparent manner. So this will be transparent. There will be nothing like secrecy in that, or like eventually you'll fall into debt trap. So nothing of that will be there. Okay, so it will be on transparency. Plus, it will be green in nature. It will promote green energy. It will keep in mind the climate crisis. So all these Belt and Road initiatives, they are coal-based power plants. They are not focusing on the environment, so they are not clean. So the funding that will go, it will also ensure the transition to clean energy, green energy. And one more thing it is working on is digital information and communications technology. Now this is very important. So connectivity is not just physical connectivity, it is also digital connectivity. Now China has the dominance in the hardware, right? So hardware and all those Huawei networks and all those things. So that can be used in cyber warfare. This is prone to hacking, and it gives an advantage, it gives a leverage to China. So to reduce the dependence on China, and that has been a concern, especially with reference to the modern 5G and 6G technologies that are going to come. Predominantly the hardware is coming from China there, and there is a concern with be it China made mobile phones or all this hardware that is there, it can be used to send information to China. It gives them a leverage. So having an independent system, so digital information and digital communications technology. And it also talks about gender equality, equity, vaccine facility, so all of this. Then there is also a reference of European Commission's Global Gateway Initiative. Right, so these are certain things. Again, we have a difference between the BRI, China's BRI, and the PGII. Now I feel that this can be framed in the way that directly, what are the concerns? One is that contextual question, BRI, concerns of India or concerns of the world, what measures are being taken. One is, what do you understand by the measure of partnership for global infrastructure and investment? How is it different from China's Belt and Road Initiative? So that is again a theme on, way UPSC can ask. Okay. Now we are on international relations, the international page, and I want to cover this briefly. Sri Lanka, very bad financial crisis. So naturally, because they don't have money, they are not able to import fuel. So fuel sales have been stopped for 2 weeks. So because they are not able to buy fuel, they will not be able to sell fuel. Russia offensive will end when Ukraine surrenders. Fine, so a hard line by Russian side over here. China's economy recovering, but foundation not solid. So I think world over the things are not looking very, very good, and Chinese economy is also not in a very good state at this point of time. Now you may think that the Chinese economy, if the Indian economy, China and India are rivals, so if China economy doesn't do well, Indian economy will do well, but that is not how it works. So we want a strong Chinese economy. Scotland eyes independence vote in 2023. Okay, 2 more articles left. Rate adjustments loom as GST Council meets first time in 2022. Okay, so there is this view of reforming the GST. Right, you would have seen number of GST. Some of the GST is irrational also. So the Karnataka Chief Minister was heading a committee known as the Group of Ministers, which submitted a report of rationalization of tax rates under the GST. So that is it. So this report will be discussed and deliberated in the GST Council. Now I think we should have, what is the GST Council? So GST Council, so it's a council having the membership of the state chief ministers plus the representation of the union in the form of the finance minister. Right, so representative of the states and the representation of the union over here. So this council will deliberate, discuss on issues of the GST, and they can vote and make changes to whatever things that they want to do. They feel that GST should not be 18%, should be 12%, so they can do by means of vote. Only thing is that since you have one member of basically represented by the finance minister over here, so the union has 1/3 vote share and the rest is with the 2/3. So GST Council is seen as a way towards cooperative federalism, towards devolution of powers to the states, right? So I think they should. Okay, oil adds gains on doubt over producers' capacity. So basically oil prices have been increasing lately, and plus there is this sanction on Russia also. So Russia is a great exporter of oil and energy. So oil prices have been increasing because of the supply issues. Supply is less, demand is more, so people are willing to pay more. Okay. So to keep the prices in check, naturally these countries, these OPEC countries, have to enhance their production. They have to increase the supply. But it seems that they have very limited scope of increasing the supply. Even if they work very hard, they will not be able to meet the supply gap that has been created. So that is what it says. So fuel prices are likely to increase. Okay. Now, since fuel is connecting this to this, now since fuel is actually it's imported, and when we import something, it is in dollar terms. So that means, let's say the fuel is, let's say, at $100 per barrel. So that means we have to buy $100 and give it off. So there is more demand for dollar. So as a result, so more demand of dollar vis-a-vis rupees. So when the demand for rupee is less as compared to dollar, so naturally the dollar rate would appreciate and the rupee would depreciate. So rupee tanks, rupee's value falls and the oil value increases because the dollar value increases. And what makes it worse is that because of the supply constraint, even this value is increasing. So the dollar value is increasing plus the price of the crude is also increasing. So this is a twin burden that the country faces right now. Right then, so this concludes our session. So thank you for streaming in to our daily news analysis. Bye bye, take care and all the best.